All right. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? It's Jay here again with the Coffee and Cigars Livestream. The live stream we do every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk coffee, talk cigars, and have a generally good time hanging out for a couple hours. So tonight's show is a little bit different. As you can see, I'm in a different setup here, different part of the studio. If you watch the videos on the main channel, this may look kind of familiar to you. This is kind of our bar setup here. And so what happened today, we were supposed to have George Brightman. So George called me like last week, and he was like, hey, man, I want to come on the show. What's going on, Mom? How are you, man? How is Ramadan holding out for you? I guess you're just able to... Well, there's still a little bit of daylight, so I guess you can't eat just yet. But soon you'll have time to feast, I'm sure. So good to have you here with us, as always. So like I was saying, so George called me a week or two ago, and he's like, hey, I want to come up and do this show with you. So let's do it. And I was like, all right, sounds great. Let's do it on the 13th. Perfect. That sounds great. And so we were all set to go today until about 2 p.m. And he calls me and he's like, hey, man, I got something that came up kind of important for me to get to early in the morning tomorrow. And so, you know, when George comes out, he always likes to party pretty late. So, you know, we would probably not be leaving, not wrapping up with him around 11 or so, 10, let's say 10:30, we officially wrap the show. And then usually he's hanging out for another hour or so. And usually he doesn't leave till at least midnight. And so if he's got to be in DC by 7 a.m. and, you know, wrapping things up here at midnight, then heading home, he was like, hey, man, can we push it back? And I was like, all right, we're going to push it back. No problem. No big deal. We'll go do that for you. So it's much more simple. So we're going to push that back for, I don't know when, a couple weeks. We'll see what he has to say. I'm sure he's going to chime in at some point and let us know. But it's all good. So it's great. So I decided we had to pivot. And I was thinking today, what are we going to do? I thought that maybe today we would go back into the archives and try a cigar that we did during the first season of the show back in 2020. And this is a cigar that I was really, really surprised about. Like, it was something that was really, really good. And it's odd because it was really, really good until it wasn't. And then it was really, really bad. But I think that was more of an anomaly rather than the actual state of that cigar. So I thought, I had back then, I bought two of those cigars. So I did one for the live stream at the time, and that was September 17th, 2020. And then I just put one away because I thought that I would smoke it again later and revisit it and give it a try. And, you know, I'm sometimes with these special cigars, I'm kind of reluctant to do those kind of things. I'm kind of reluctant to go back out and smoke the cigars again. I don't know why. Because basically because it's the last one that I have of this cigar. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to smoke it. And like, yeah, what if I don't like it? Or what if I don't know what it is. This is the problem with having cigars, is that you keep some and then you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to smoke them because I'll be out of them. And then, you know, as though by holding on to them, you've got some kind of lifeblood that you're holding on to. And, you know, it's like, that's just crazy. So we're going to go into that one. I'll get a little more into that one a little bit later. But first, we're going to start off with our usual coffee. Our coffee today is going to be from Honduras. It's called the Wamadanta. It's a natural, it's a wash coffee from the Comayagua district. Really nice Honduran coffee. And what we're going to do is I'm going to do it a little bit differently. Because it's kind of warm today, right? We're finally reaching into the, officially it's 70s, like mid to slightly upper 70s, but unofficially, man, we're pushing the 80s, right? Like 81, 82, and it's like you can feel it. We're back into shorts and t-shirt, and you know, it's a nice feeling, but, you know, here in Baltimore, things never last, right? Like, we've got like beautiful weather right now, temperate, just right, right? But soon we'll have 90 and high humidity, and that's just misery. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take the AeroPress, right? This is the AeroPress. This is a pretty old AeroPress. This one is probably 10 years or so old, maybe older. And you can see a lot of the where it used to say AeroPress and have the numbers. You can kind of see that there. That's no longer on this thing because it's so old and we use it so much. So if you're kind of familiar with this whole AeroPress thing, This is it's a light pressure. It's a light pressure brewers, meaning that it's kind of like a syringe. So when you press the plunger, it gives pressure and forces the water through the grinds. Now, when this first came out in 2005, the designer, this guy named Alan Adler, who made the Aerobee Frisbee, he designed this, and he kind of said, I think some of the packaging might still say this, that you're kind of making espresso. Well, espresso, that's a stretch. I mean, espresso, really, we're looking for 135 PSI. This is nowhere near that, of course. So it's probably 20 PSI or something. And so, but it is a pressurized brewer, and it's very popular. And people really love it. It's a nice brewer. It's compact. You can take it anywhere. If you search the internet, you'll find some people from many, many years ago using this to brew coffee on airplanes. Why they do that, I don't know. Like, your flight's not that long. Do you really need that? Like, I don't know. These are just things like for me, like, I don't want to carry something like this, especially with my hand carry. Like, I don't want to carry that. It's too much. When I travel, I want to go as light as possible. So, but anyway, we're going to use this. And today we're going to use the inverted method, right? Now, you guys all know Rusty, and Rusty is the 2015 United States AeroPress champion. And, so he's very well regarded in the industry. George Shem, what's going on, man? Good to see you. How you doing tonight? How is the return to classes going for you? Hope it's not been too difficult. So for today, we're going to brew this kind of like a cold brew, instant cold brew. I'm going to use a little bit of different technique. I've got some pretty finely ground, I should show it to you here, pretty finely ground coffee. This, like I said, is from Honduras. It's a medium roasted Wamadanta from the Comayagua district. Really nice quality coffee, right? Nice, warm aromatics, really kind of pretty. George says, longest 4-week ever. And Tony's not with us. What's going on, Tony? Good to see you. How's it? Welcome to the show. Good to see all of you guys as always. Let me know what you're smoking and what you're drinking. I'm always interested to know that. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and put the coffee in the AeroPress. And I'm using 24 grams of coffee, more or less, probably a little bit more, maybe 25. And as you can see, it is kind of filling it up, about there, right? And brewing with the AeroPress is relatively simple. Oh, and I forgot a tool. Oh, it's right here. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to add hot water, and we're going to stir and let it steep for 45 seconds. So I've got water that's just off the boil. I should time it, right? Oh, there's a timer here. Good. And then we're going to pour it directly into the top. And, start our timer. I want to make sure that we get it all saturated quickly. Now, when I was originally doing this for the 2012 AeroPress Championship, which I won, by the way, right on, first U.S. champion right here, we actually were stirring this. So we will stir this for almost the entirety of the brew. Actually, we won't do it for the entirety of the brew cycle. We just want to get it nice and saturated, and to get it. Oh, Rusty's here. What's going on, Rusty? Yeah, brother. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Tony says that he's having a Call to Arms Corona Gorda. Oh, nice, nice. And a Diet Cherry Pepsi. I like those Call to Arms, man. Those are nice. Mom's wishing everyone peace. Excellent. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum as well. 4-day week. I'm ready for the weekend. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was weird. I thought my niece and nephew were off on Monday. I thought that was a little bit strange. I thought they would go back to school on Monday. I just want to rinse that out so that I don't have to mess with it later. And we're going to use a paper filter. And I'm sure I'm beyond the time. Well, yeah, it's like minute 22. So I'm going to take the paper filter. And if you happen to be coming to Portland, Rusty is going to be giving demonstrations at the AeroPress booth on, I think on Friday, you said, Rusty, right? So I'm going to lock that in. Now we got time to press it, right? So what I didn't do while I was all blabbing away was that I needed to get some ice ready. And in this case, I'm going to use some cubes or these special like cubes, spheres. And these are ones that I had frozen. Oh, they're melting so they're pretty big. I thought that might be kind of fun to, whoa. Everything's kind of out of control here. So they're nice orbs. I'll put that in there, put that there. And then we're going to turn this over. I'm going to show you this over this here. We're going to turn this over like such. And gravity, of course, will start to pull the coffee through if we don't press it down. And so what we're going to do is we're going to now press. And we're going to wait to hear this hiss, which means that the brew cycle is finished. All right, there we go, there we go. And so whenever I take it off, I always want to tilt it because a lot of the coffee will do this kind of thing, right? And that's pretty much it, right? There we go. That's it. The cleanup is relatively simple. All you got to do is take this off and then eventually rinse this out. And then as you see, there's a paper filter here, but all we have to do is take this down, right? And I'm going to get this trash can down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it here. Luckily, it shot right into the trash can, which is kind of unusual. And then I'm just going to rinse this off. In case you're wondering, there is a sink here. I'm not just spreading it into the, what do you call it? I'm not just sending it down into the, what was it called? Onto the floor. Not that much of an animal. I'll just wipe this up and try to keep this under some semblance of cleanliness and pleasantry. So, George, are you having your El Huehuense again? As usual? Okay, so we've got our coffee here, right? And, oops. It looks pretty good. Now, it's going to be a little bit concentrated. Let's have a taste. Yeah, I think it's a little bit heavy. So this is really ratioed for, 12 ounces. So this is a bit less than that. So I'm going to add a little bit of water. And as you can see in here, most of the frozen spheres have, well, at least one of them is dissipated. The other one is getting pretty small. So let's see how that tastes. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Chocolate notes, nice. Nice. Oh, my niece is calling. Let's see what she has to say. I'm supposed to take them on an outing tomorrow. And so, yeah, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put some ice because I really like cold drinks to be cold. And there we go. George says he's smoking the Olmec Maduro. Now, Olmec, I think I've had those. Are those also made by Nick Manillo? Let me know. But one thing that I was curious about this, I am curious to know how does it taste with cake. This is actually a cake a friend of mine, she gave to me last weekend, April 2nd, not this past weekend. Oh, yeah. That's no good. That's way too dry. Forget it. That was a bad idea. I was saving it. I don't know why. That was that was a mistake. Okay, good. Also from Nick, that's great. So how's everyone doing this week? If everything's been good? This week I finally got around to doing some planting. I went up to Shrewsbury a week ago on Wednesday because I was in the mood. I had been hearing how good Cracker Barrel is for breakfast, right? So I've been on this quest for looking for pancakes, and I've really come to like. I really identified the style of pancakes that I like. I like them to be thin and not too fluffy, not too cakey, more springy. If you've ever been to, like, one of the best ones I've ever had, and it's always been a classic for me, is there's a place in Honolulu called the Original Pancake House. And yes, if you're familiar with that name, it's because it is part of the national chain. However, in Honolulu, they do a variation on their standard pancake that they put crushed macadamia nuts in it. And it's really simple. It's just basically their pancakes with crushed macadamia. It's nothing really that extraordinary, out of the ordinary. But I love it. Since I've lived there in the 90s, I love that thing. And so I was back there again, of course, back in November. I was eating this. It was really great. And I thought to myself, I need to find more of this. So I went to IHOP not too long ago. And IHOP has very similar pancakes. Nice, fluffy, light, and springy, and chewy. And I was like, oh, that's good. Like, you go to a lot of places around here, and they got the more cakey, right? They're a little thicker, a little bit drier, fluffier. Yeah, and those are all good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a snob about this kind of thing, but I'm really enthusiastic about those like light and springy ones. So my brother was telling me, oh, man, the pancakes at Cracker Barrel are really great. So I was like, all right, I'm going to drop up to Cracker Barrel. And another friend was telling me that, oh, they've got a good selection at the True Value hardware store of seeds. All right, I'm going to go check that out as well. And there's a Tractor Supply there, so it's like a trifecta for me, right? So went up there, had the pancakes. The pancakes were good. They were kind of a hybrid between the thick and cakey and the thin and chewy. They were somewhere in between that. But it also had this added dimension that the flat ends, the tops and the bottom were a little bit on the crispy side, right? And I was like, oh, that's a really nice thing. And they give you little bottles of maple syrup, which you can take home with you. And I was like, this is fantastic. So I had ordered the beignets with it, and the beignets come with their own little cup of maple syrup. And they give you 2 little bottles of maple syrup for the pancakes. And I was like, well, I'm just going to use this. I'm sparingly use it for the beignets, because do you really need to dip, sugar-coated beignets in maple syrup? Yes, that's true, but not so much, right? So I used all of that for the pancakes. Then I still have 2 bottles of this great syrup. Now, the weird thing about this place is that the eggs were great, beignets were good, pancakes were good. The real fallacy was the real misstep was the bacon. I don't know if I've only been to Cracker Barrel once before, right? I went back in maybe 2005 or 2006. We went to one further into Pennsylvania, but only for dinner. And I don't even remember what that was like. I just remember it was positive, right? But I'd never been there for breakfast. And I don't know, they kind of coursed my order, kind of messed up, but that's not important. What was weird is that the bacon was microwaved, right? So, when you microwave bacon, it doesn't cook it uniformly. It cooks it very out of whack. So in one strip of bacon, part of it's kind of burnt. The other part of it is kind of raw. And I was like, what is this? Why are you microwaving bacon? And I asked one of the ladies when I was checking out, I was like, do you normally microwave the bacon here? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And I was like, how do you not know? How long have you worked at this place? Anyway, I guess that's neither here nor there. So I went over to this True Value. They didn't really have a great selection of seeds, unfortunately. I'm looking for more tomatoes, right? The idea for me with tomatoes is that I want to find really, really sweet tomato varietals, like super sweet. Like I remember reading years ago in Japan about these izakayas that would work with farmers in Japan to cultivate really sweet tomatoes. And what they would do, they would serve you this tomato at the izakaya. They put this tomato on a plate, right? They'd have this big tomato. I believe they kind of blanched it slightly, so they removed the skin, and they served it with a little pile of sea salt, and that was it. And it was supposedly so sweet that it was amazing. So they called them 19 bricks tomatoes. If you're familiar with the bricks measurements are the measure of specific gravity density of any liquid, and it's also kind of a measurement of how much sweetness or sugar is in any kind of product. And 19 bricks is really, really sweet. And I've always been interested in doing that. So I've talked to some farmers over the years about trying to get them to cultivate those for me, but no one either no one understood what I was talking about, or nobody was willing to try it. So I'm always on the lookout for that. What I really need to do is probably go down to Meyer Seed and talk to them and be like, hey man, I need to talk to your tomato expert and find out what is this tomato that I need to find, and how do I cultivate this? So I got a bunch of tomatoes. I also got some herbs. What did I get? I got cilantro, basil, and sage. Maybe sage. And I did some plantings of those, and hopefully they'll grow. No, arugula, not sage, arugula. I want to go buy sage next. I've got plenty of time. Turns out time is a perennial. From last season, my time is crazy good. Like I've got plenty of time, I think, for the rest of the year. I also got the lavender starting to come back in, so it's really, really nice. And George says, when I worked at Roy Rogers, we cooked all the bacon on a flat top. We were trained to get extra crispy to represent cheeseburgers. Wasn't exactly well, but you know what, man? I still think that you want to get the right texture on your bacon. You got to pay attention. You just can't be like, oh, I'm just gonna sleep on it. Right? It's important work. That's important work. That's God's work there. Yeah, and I think that I don't know if it was. I can only imagine that their standards are to cook them on a flat top. And here's the thing: I'll post about these things online, and I'll tag the company. I never hear them back. It's like they don't even pay attention to their social media. But so what happened? I told the server. I said, "Hey, can you course these out?" I ordered the beignets first, and then bring me the rest of it after. After about 10 minutes, I'm like, "Oh God!" What I should have done is just told her, "Hey, let me order beignets, and then I'm going to look at the menu for a while and figure out what else I want. And then when the beignets arrive, then order the rest of it." It wasn't until I was thinking about it later. I should have just done that, and turns out I should have. Because when the food came, it all came pretty much at once. The beignets were hot, like they had just been made. The pancakes were warm, but not hot. So they had been sitting under a heat lamp. What I think happened was that these guys were like, they were kind of mismanaging the kitchen, and they made the pancakes, they cooked the eggs, and then they realized, oh crap, we're out of bacon. So rather than, delaying the order more, they tossed the bacon in the microwave, and it just cooked it. It just cooked it poorly. And it's just like, you should have just, I would have waited. Remake the pancakes. I would have waited for it, because I'd rather have the food cooked properly than cooked poorly. Anyway. Where was I? I don't know. I'm all ranting and raving about. So the seeds. So that was right. So I got arugula. So I planted all this stuff and did some planting of these. I got pineapple tomatoes as well as purple Cherokee tomatoes. So I got 10 plants of tomatoes. Last year I had a few more varietals because I was buying the short sprout seedlings. This year I'm just planting seeds. So I had you buy a pack of these tomato seeds, and it comes 25 seeds for $2.99. So you can get quite a lot of plants, and 10 plants is more than I have space for, I think. So we're gonna have to see what happens this year, but I'm excited to try that out. I didn't get any cherry tomatoes. I probably should have got some cherry tomatoes. At least I can go to this. My neighbor, she grows seedlings, sells them for like $5 a piece. But they'll come out like in early June, and they're about that tall. Whatever else I want to fill in, I'll just buy that from her. Anyway, so let's get into our cigar of the week. And today's cigar, like I said, originally we were going to have George Brightman come on, and George called me and he's like, I can't make it. And I was like, that's fine. No, don't worry. We got you covered. And so I had to pivot to a different cigar than I was planning. Oh, actually, I had no plan. George was going to bring a cigar. And I thought that, let's go back into our catalog, right? So here in our humidor, so this is our humidor, as you already know, right? So basically, I just keep the cigars in here, and they just kind of sit. And some of the cigars I get, they'll just sit there for months at a time. Like these are the cigars coming up. These 4 here are what's coming up in our schedule. This is the Paniolo Special 2022, and then sometimes I just have some sitting around. Oh, I guess I have smoked them all. What I do have left sitting around is this. This is the Rocky Patel Mareva, the WCSC. This is the World Cigar Championship. World Cigar. Oh, the CSWC, Cigar Smoking World Championship Cigar. And how this works is that, and I don't know if they've had this since the pandemic. But the idea of this world championship, and they do national championships, and then they do, actually, I should probably look this up and see, World Smoke Cigar, must be the World Cigar Smoking Championship. Let me share this with you so we can see it. I'm working off the laptop today, so it's a little bit of a different experience. All right, let's see here. This is so it is happening this year. Yes, we are over the 21. The Cigar Smoking World Championship is going to be held. Oh, no, it was held last year, June 13, 2022. So it was held after 2020. And evidently there's no listing yet on when it's going to be smoked. So it's been over 10 years, and there's 35 countries now that participate. So here's the idea behind this, right? The idea behind this cigar is that, this championship, is that you're going to smoke the competition cigar, this Mareva. You're going to smoke this little tiny petite Corona, and you're going to smoke it for as long as possible, right? You want to smoke it. Whoever smokes this the longest without it going out, I think maybe you can relight it once or maybe not. But if you can, whoever smokes this the longest will win. And so whoever wins the nationals goes on to the worlds. And then the worlds, of course, you're the world champion. And this has not started yet. I'm surprised they haven't put a listing. It's already April. Maybe that's dead. So the grand finale is going to be in Split, Croatia. Oh, I'd love to go back to Croatia. Very nice, there are truly beautiful women in Croatia. Like some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen were in Croatia. All right, so we're going to smoke this. So this is a petite Corona, really small. And okay, so let me explain to you what happened the last time. So in 2020, September 2020, we did this cigar, and I think actually that day I wore a tuxedo because it was like we're going to mimic because it was happening at the same time as the 2020 World Championship. And I'll be honest with you, I've always been a skeptic when it comes to Rocky Patel cigars, right? I have not had great experiences smoking Rocky Patel cigars. I in my mind, in my little world of cigars, I kind of equate Rocky Patel and Gurkha to be pretty much the same thing, just kind of stuff that I no longer will really touch, just because it's like I've had so many poor experiences smoking those cigars. It's like, why am I going to bother? But I thought this one was interesting enough because of the World Smoking Championship that I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I give this a try? And when I smoked it on the show, and you can look it up, it's actually on the original, on the main channel, on the Ono Coffee channel, from September 17th, 2020. I remember being very, very surprised. Like, this then started out awesome. Like, it was amazing. Fantastic. And I think I smoked it through about halfway, right? So I got to halfway, and then it just petered out. It just was, I can't remember, was it clogged? It might have been clogged. But I just remember it was like soaring, like it was flying. Like it was like, oh man, we're like amazing. And then suddenly it was like, bah! Like I think it went out and then just took a nose up. I think I even had to put it down back then. So disappointing, amazing, and then disappointing. I'm hoping that today we will have more of the former rather than the latter. All right, let's get into it. Let's get our cigar grading sheet. We got our cigar grading form today. Let's have a look at that. Here we are. I guess we should zoom in a little bit more here. Nice. I forgot to take the measurements, so I'm gonna measure it out now. So this is about a third. That's about a third. Oh, no, that's going to be our third. Right? That looks, yeah, that's our 3, 3, 3, 3. Those are going to be what we say are thirds, or maybe it actually should probably be here. Right? Okay, good. Whoops. All right, that looks about right. Okay. Let's open it up. George says it was like the Titanic hitting the iceberg, if I recall. Yeah, I have to say that's a great way to put it. It really was. I was so disappointed. Finally, I was having a cigar from Rocky Patel that I was like enjoying, and then there's a certain irony here, right? Like, here's this little cigar showing me why I have been misjudging Rocky Patel, and then it just imploded on itself. I was like, oh, well, just prove that I was right, you know. All right, so let's have a look at this cigar. This is the Mareva. A little bit of a footband here, this nice orange rim. I like the color. Like, I like the combination with this kind of copper-colored band, right? Copper-colored band. Little orange ribbon here at the bottom. Let's take that off. How does it look and feel? It feels pretty good. I mean, remember, this cigar is now, it's got 2.5 more years of age on it than when I first bought it. So it's been sitting in our humidor pretty much the entire time. Actually, it's been sitting in this humidor since September of 2021. So it spent a year in my desk humidor. I've got this desktop humidor that's all wood. It spent the first year there, and then for the last year and a half, is that right? Year and a half? Yeah. Year and a half it's been in our big humidor here. Our Tupperdoor from Rusty. All right, so let's have a look at our color. I'm going to say it's not too light. I would say it's probably about here on the color scale. And then now let's look at our fragrance. Ooh, pleasant. Like, there's this kind of like, I don't know, the way that I want to describe it is mature manure. Like, there's that manure, right? You know how the manure kind of is, when you smell manure on the cigar, it has this kind of rawness to it. This is kind of a matureness. Like, it's kind of like a ripened, maybe with a little bit of brie, like cave age brie kind of thing. It's pleasant. It's kind of a little bit like, maybe a little bit allspice, maybe a slight mustiness, not necessarily in a negative way. Interesting. Pleasant. All right, let's do some cutting here now using our MTX cutter. It could be slightly on the slightly dry, but it feels okay. So if to the fingertips it feels a little bit dry, but pliability wise, there's no cracking, there's no delicateness to the wrapper as I'm squeezing it, right? So I think it's all right in that respect. So let's do some cold draw. The draw is easy. There is a little, on the cold draw, there's a little bit of sweetness right here on the tip of the tongue. I would say that's really the major character. A little bit of sweetness, slight amount of spiciness, like maybe a very light cayenne. Mom says that only time I get Rockies, my monthly cigar boxes, and 2 is a lot, if any. So how are those Rockies? Are they to your liking or not to your liking? I mean, I don't really like to say that I don't like it, but I mean, it just doesn't fit. A lot of his cigars haven't really fit my palate. All right, I guess it's a good time to start our light. We're going to use our matches. All right, doesn't remember. All right, gotcha. Well, you know, at least you don't remember being bad, like not remembering as, you know, it's not. You wish you had oh man, that was a stellar cigar memory. But if it's not that, well, you know, could be worse. Didn't quite light all the way yet. Initial puff there, kind of pleasant. Nice aromatics, you know, kind of a spiciness that's very pleasant. I mean, honestly, when I first smoked this 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, it had great flavor, really enjoyable. So if it was starting out poor today, that would be incredibly disappointing. George says, dryer is better than wet, in my opinion. My one Rubbermaid humidor is at 66%, and they smoke it. Yeah. I think 66 to 68 is a really nice place for humidors to be. I kind of like it in that setting myself. So nice smoke. The smoke has nice aromatics. The flavor, nice. Nothing too descriptive just yet. So back in 2020, when we first did this show, the champion from 2019 took 4 hours and 46 minutes to smoke this cigar. 4 hours and 46 minutes. Okay, I have to repeat that because it just sounds insane to me. Tonight, we're going to beat that. No, we're not. I'm just trying to think, can I make this last 2 hours? Or now hour and a half? I mean, it's pleasant. There's complexity to it. And you know, it's kind of one of these things where you can taste the age. Like, it tastes complex, but it also tastes mature. Like, it has aged itself and it has kind of matured and feels like, you know, sometimes when you start with some cigars, there's heavy pepper and some spiciness to it, some allspice or whatever. This is a cigar that really, whose components have really had time to meld, right? The 2.5 years has been melding. Like it's actually nice. You know, for the World Smoking Championship cigar, right? So this is the official cigar. You know, when I smoke my Revenges, I tend to have this penchant of like, if I'm enjoying a cigar, I want to puff on it. And I want to puff and puff and puff and suck it down and just enjoy it and just be like, oh, this is amazing. This is fantastic. I love it. And then it's all gone. So I can be done in 45 minutes. Big cigar, 45 minutes. If they make this really nice, which I thought they did 2.5 years ago, like that's maybe one of the greater challenges of the the World Cigar Smoking Championship, is that you enjoy it, so you want to puff on it more. But you have to maintain control over yourself, discipline, focus, commitment. I'm gonna smoke this mother, and it's gonna take me 5 hours because I'm gonna win that championship. Who are those guys? How do they train? Do they buy boxes and boxes of this cigar so they can smoke it and smoke it and smoke it and get over that flavor enjoyment? Like, let's presume that it's a very enjoyable flavor that the people really like. Do they smoke a lot of them so they get over it? And so by the time they get to the championships, they're bored with the cigar, and so they can take their time. I don't know, how would you prepare for this kind of thing? George says, I play 18 holes of golf quicker than that on a public course, and I'm a 25 handicap, which means I'm on a recon mission for many of my shots. I hear you. I once played Doral down in Miami. I lost 12 balls on that round. 12. That was so difficult. I'm not a good player by any means, don't get me wrong. So that's why I lost 12 balls. Like, the fact that I'm a bad player is exacerbated on a course of that magnitude. I don't think I've ever shot below an 80. And maybe that's exaggerating. Maybe I never shot below 90. I don't know. I tend not to pay attention to my scores too much. All right, so we're starting into the first third. Like I said, it's got nice complexity, but there's no like flavors that are truly like protruding and like apparent. Like, it's all this melange of complexity and flavors, right? Very pleasant, very enjoyable, but nothing like, oh, this is Miss Black Pepper and this is this, right? It's not a tropical cigar. It's kind of got this nice, mature, spicy pepperiness to it without pronunciation, right? Like, so a lot of times you will smoke cigars that have black pepper kind of flavors to them, and it has that harshness, right? That harshness had it, if presuming it was there in 2020, it's no longer here. It's all just smooth and actually quite enjoyable. How is your cigars coming along? Good? So I've been watching some shows again. I finally got caught up on, what's it called? Picard, Star Trek Picard. No spoilers today. This is today. I saw today's episode. Just watched it like maybe an hour ago. All I will say about that is that if you are a TNG fan, you will flip out of this episode. You'll be like, oh my God, it's amazing. Picard is back. You will love it. If you're a TNG fan, I enjoyed TNG, but I wasn't a big TNG fan. I was more of a Voyager fan. And then later Enterprise fan. Like, I totally skipped over DS9. And TNG, I watched it every once in a while. But like, if you're a TNG person, man, you will be like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe it. And we only have one more episode left. So this is episode 9. Next week is the finale. And there's a lot to wrap up. There's a lot to wrap up. I don't know how they're going to do it all in one episode. They surely should make it 12 episodes. We have, like 3 more episodes to go. Yeah, this is quite good. Let's have some of our coffee. This is the AeroPress Ice Guamadanta from Honduras. Nice, very nice accompaniment. I like the fact that it's cold for warm nights like tonight. Yesterday, I did a live stream on the main channel, the Ono Coffee channel. Because like I said, we're going to be in Portland, Oregon next week. And a couple days ago, I saw this news report from Portland about this company called Kova Coffee. And Kova is a pretty well-known coffee company in the coffee industry, fairly liberal company. And they opened a location in downtown Portland. And evidently, they were like, we're closing the location immediately because there's so much like issues with crime and criminality and, break-ins and people throwing chairs at their window during business hours. That's pretty crazy, man. You're like trying to sit there, have a coffee, and here comes this chair sailing through the plate glass window. Like, that's some crazy stuff. So I was looking at some stuff about it, and I was doing a live stream about, do you need to be worried about Portland? And I was really kind of lucky because two of these guys that are friends, they're YouTubers as well. And they do their own channels on different subject matter, but they're a couple, and they're from Portland, and they kind of came across my feed. And, I'd met the guy Aaron before. I haven't met his girlfriend yet. Lily is her name. And they were kind of like, I'm glad they came up because I was like, hey, man, can you give us the lowdown on what's going on in Portland? Like, do we need to be concerned about criminality and all of this? And they were like, no, a lot of that's a little bit overblown, but it should be fine, especially where you're going to be. I was like, okay, cool. Because, she's a white girl and like walking around. Well, it's a little bit different than Baltimore. Like Baltimore, majority black. Portland, 75% plus % white. So it's a very different kind of city. But, there's part of me that's like, I'm from Baltimore. Do I need to worry about going to any city in the world? Like, normally I don't. I don't know why I was concerned about it. Yeah, smoking nice. But like I said, this is a cigar whose flavors are a blend, a complex blend, not necessarily a pronunciation or pronounced individual flavors. This is something I would say that currently the flavor of the cigar is, like, if you think about the components of the leaves that go into it, the whole is better than its parts. The parts come together to form a better whole, a greater whole. So as you can see, we're in the cafe spot. If you've been to the roastery, you know that this is the cafe part of the roaster. And if you've been watching the show, you know that we've done the episodes from, many different spaces here in the roastery. So I had this set up because, George was going to come and bring some food stuff to try. And so I thought, well, let's just have it sit up here. We're going to sit here, a few of us at a wider angle, and get to talk about the cigars. But now it's just me. And I was going to change it back to our normal desk setup. But I was like, let's use this. It'd be kind of a nice change of pace. A little bit different flavor. It's always nice to have all of you visiting the show. Like I said, we will be in Portland next week. When I get to town on Wednesday, I'm gonna have to head over to the venue to make sure that, hey, will we be cool doing this here? So let's have a look at this. Like, this is something I think is nice to look at. Like, here is our, look at that ash. That ash and the burn line, really nice. Really nice. I'm trying not to pull on it too hard. Nice white ash, good burn line. I mean, I think I said this during the 2020 broadcast, but if this could be indicative of what Rocky Patel can do, this is great. Like, this is really good. Yeah, great. I would say great. And like, if all of his cigars could be like this, then they would be worth, like, checking out more. Now, I don't know if it's because these cigars are sent more to a European clientele, so he pays better attention to these. I don't know. But it's certainly very good. Flavor, complexity, the body, medium, but a rich body, nice quality body. Mom says I'll be in Virginia. You say VA, you mean Virginia, right? Or does the VA stand for something else? Next week, you might not see me. Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'm glad you let us know. Because, we will notice if you're missing. Like Young Ma, where's he been? Where's Young Ma? We've been wondering about Young Ma. Kind of worried about him. Hopefully he's all right. Young Ma, if you're watching this on the replay, drop a comment. Let us know. Let us know you're doing well. Oh, yes, Virginia. Oh, nice, nice. I don't know what part of Virginia you're going to be, but Old Virginia Tobacco is a really great place. If you happen to be out in Leesburg, one of our buddies owns a place there, Route 7 Cigar, I think it's called. Tony will let us know for sure if that's correct or if I'm wrong. But if you need a place to check out, those are some good spots in Virginia. If you're more closer to Tyson's Corner, the McLean area, I always end up stopping by at Paul Gamerian Boutique in McLean, downtown McLean. You can't smoke there, but he's a raconteur. He loves to tell stories, and I do like his cigars. Like, for the longest, one of my favorite cigars, and still maybe my most favorite cigar of all time, is probably still the Paul Gamerian Bellicosa Maduro. Like, that is, to me, just a wonderful, wonderful smoke. So if you happen to be down that area, that's a great spot to go. But you can't really smoke there, so. I'm getting a little bit of bending on the going out west. Oh, I mean, so are you heading out to what? Going out west. I would think that maybe you might be doing that fancy thing. What's that place there? McConnell, Chef McConnell. Stephen McConnell? The Inn at Little Washington. Is that where you're headed to, right at the end of Route 66? Will that cigar last until 10? That's a good question. Well, you know what? We've got an hour left, right? And I haven't even finished the first third. So I'm going to say, yeah, I think we can smoke this out that long. I mean, if guys can do 5 hours with this thing, I should be able to do another hour. Challenge accepted. Lynchburg. I can't think of. I think that's where. I think Tony will know about this for sure, but I think in Lynchburg there is a place we went to for a Romacraft event. I think that was Lynchburg. It might not be, but if it's the same town that I'm thinking about, there is a nice cigar place there, outdoor seating. And our resident chef, Rusty, who knows this one, Patrick O'Connell. Yes, that is who I'm thinking about. Thank you very much. I've always wanted to go to the Inn at Little Washington. I can't believe there was a time when I was really into fine dining and experiencing as much fine dining as I possibly could. That's kind of waned, and now I'm kind of back in this kind of like rustic. I've got enough skills that I'm just going to cook at home kind of mode. But I always wanted to check out the Inn at Little Washington. And Rusty says, thanks for mentioning Portland Pizza Week on your left. Hey, that was why. That's a thanks to Aaron and Lily, because it was Lily that was like, hey, there's a Pizza Week thing happening. And I was like, oh. So what was the name of the pizza place that she said was her favorite? It's I'll know the name if I see the listing again. But they had this really nice looking thick Detroit style pizza on there. It looked pretty good. I want to check that out. We'll have to go there. I actually did a stage for a weekend there in 2001. Oh, at Patrick at the Inn Little Washington. How was that? Like, I'm curious to know what that was like. I always thought that it would be great to work in a kitchen like that, to gain some experience at those like super high-end kitchens. My personal hero was always Thomas Keller. Like, I really like his story. I like his approach. I like the way he thinks. It's like that's when I feel really in tune with his whole methodology. Tony shares. What was the question? Got back. Oh, so the Roma Craft event that we went to a few years ago in Virginia, was that in Lynchburg? And if it was, do you remember the name of the cigar shop? Because Mom is headed down to Lynchburg next week and maybe could use a cigar shop recommendation. All right, so it's getting kind of long. Let's look at our score sheet here and see where are we in our. We're getting close. We're getting close to our first third. But I'm feeling like I want to see how it's bending. I feel like I want to tap it out. Go to the camera. Under the camera. So here's the like, how does this look to you, right? This shot here, like, it's nicely exposed here because we have that cream colored wall with the posters mounted in frames. And then back here, like if I'm looking at the camera monitor, I can see the curtain, the blue curtain, the texture from the lighting. But when I look at the StreamYard feed, it's all kind of this washed, almost like navy black area. It just kind of falls into mostly black. There's a little strip of how do I do this? Yeah, like that. There's this little strip of light blue right there. I don't know what you see. So let me just see. I'm just curious to know, how does this look? Because when it gets to right here, it's really stark. It blends much more nicely on the camera than it does on the stream. I don't know. If the stream looks really sharp, then sorry, I need to do better exposure preparation. That was Manassas. I don't think that was Manassas. I think it was further out than Manassas. I was pretty sure it's further out. I think. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Yeah, that was awesome. To stage at Patrick O'Connell, that's excellent. That's excellent. That's massive. How are we doing? All right, I'm going to say that I'm going to call that we are at the first third. So, I forgot to do this fragrance. So fragrance was kind of there. Cold draw was good. I'm going to say 8.5 for that. Now, our flavor has been very good. Like, is it excellent? I'm going to say 8.75. I would say I said medium bodied. I think the quality has been very good. So let's say 875 again. Oh, Steven's with us again. What's up, Steven? How's it going? Great to have you. How are things down in Phoenix? And Rusty says, George, being a 23-year-old cook and chosen was an honor and a privilege. Oh, man, that's fantastic. And Tony says tobacology. That's right, tobacology. So I don't know where that is. Let's see. Let's have a look and see. I have to go and make some more changes so I can get there. We'll just do the window part. We can get a little bit of weirdness with this one. But let's go to Google Maps. Nokesville. Oh, Haymarket. I think we went to the one, I don't know. Nokesville, Haymarket? I think we went to one in Haymarket. Oh, Manassas. You're right, man. I think you're right. No, but I thought we went to this one. I don't know where we went to. I don't know. I don't know. Where's Lynchburg? Maybe that's further south. My poor laptop is all worked. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. You're closer to Roanoke. Yeah, I have no idea. Sorry, my friend. Lynchburg Cigar. Let's have a look at Lynchburg cigar shops. See what people have to say. I should probably separate this out so that we can. Oh, there's a lot there. Any ones that look, maybe Tobacco Hut. Oh, no, that's not a good one. King of Smoke. Nope. Ronnie's Huff and Puff. Vape Juice. Nope. I thought this was supposed to be cigar shops. Pabst Cigar. Oh, okay, there's a place that could be potential. Oh, is it not? Did it not switch? Oh, sorry, guys. Hold on. This thing is a little bit difficult to work with. I only have one screen that's on the laptop and everything's kind of big. So here's a place. Pabst Cigar might be a good spot. You know, I'm basing on the fact that it says Pep Cigars rather than vape. 134 reviews, 4.8 points. All right. That looks promising. Oh, kind of rustically looking, like, you know, and stressed out. Some big chairs. Could be nice. Pretty nice looking spot. Walk-in humidor, some wall humidors. Lots of Arturo Fuente. Oh. All right. All right, good. There we go. Oh. Haymarket. Okay, that is the one we went to. That was a nice one, but I guess that's pretty far from Lynchburg. Right, my ash is getting pretty long. So I'm going to tap it out because I'm getting nervous. I'm back to using my tuna can for an ashtray. I kind of love these little tuna can corned beef ashtrays. All right, so 9:05. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder, can we make it last? Can we make it last? Can we do the World's Cigar Smoking Championship style? Okay, now will this thing go south like last time? That's a good question. Like, I think we're probably around the point where that last one went south. So this is an important question to ask. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll continue with this. Like, I wonder, like, if we were to have that happen again. I was thinking about this earlier. Like, how do you score that? Like, if it totally goes south and you just can't score it anymore, I mean, you're just kind of stuck with, like, right now would be at a 16, 17 and a half, 26 points, 25 and a half points. But really smoking well. I think very good. Very good. High in the very good range. I don't think it quite reaches excellent. But I'm actually enjoying it. Like, just with that puff, I was thinking in my mind, like, it's one of those things that I could, like, just start to pull hard on, just start sucking on it. Like, it's good. It's good. So anything happening going on in your guys' world? I saw that the federal government, the Biden administration, is evidently stepping in with something to do with the Colorado River. So what is it? Arizona, California, and Colorado, maybe Nevada too, are locked in a dispute as to water rights. You know, because that Colorado River not only provides drinking water to the southwestern part of the United States, but it also provides irrigation water for the crops that infect the entire nation. And so there's a lot of contention, I think, going on with those states that now that the Colorado for the last number of years has been reducing in output. I think that some of the snows have helped to rebuild like some of that, but I don't know if it's enough to reverse what's been happening. But I think as with anything, like it's a cyclical thing that will come back, right? Like 20 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than 20 years ago, we had drought here in Maryland, right? So Loch Raven and the Liberty reservoirs were getting pretty low, and we had water rationing and things like that. So not water rationing, but we couldn't. I think they made it illegal to water our grass back then. And eventually, it came back. So I think that's probably what's going to happen with the Colorado River and the Hoover Dam, Lake Mead. We'll have quite a bit of fallow times, and then eventually we'll come back. Or not. And then we'll have more issues to deal with. I mean, if we can't get together with our nation now, how much more if we actually have a starvation, famine? Like if we run out of water there, like That's a significant part of that area has significant production of our nation's food supply. That could be catastrophic. Like when they had the potato famine in Ireland back in the 1800s, millions died. You think that maybe that, now that we have worldwide agriculture, that's probably going to be a problem. Maybe not. But I mean, we are reaching a point with over 7 billion people in the world where, the guys from McCormick, the scientists from McCormick that are customers at this location, they were telling me back in 2019 that, we're running out of arable land to produce food for human sustenance, not just like enjoyment and luxurious eating, but just for sustenance. That a lot of they were expecting that a lot of the land that's currently being used to produce spice will have to be converted to produce proteins in order to sustain the population, especially as we reach 10 billion worldwide. George says Fort Lauderdale was underwater last night. Wow. Airports flooded and wow, I didn't even know there was a storm going on down there. Wow, 20 inches. That's crazy. Hope those people are all right. I don't really understand why people want to live in Florida. It's prone to hurricanes. It's going to hurricane there. It's going to flood. Catastrophe is just around the corner. Why would you want to live there? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it personally. But I'm not a fan of Florida. I'm just not. Like craziness. Here in Maryland, we've had an extremely mild winter. I can't believe we had no snow really, or no snow to really speak of. An entire winter, no snowfall, or very minor snowfall. Really surprised. By this time in our history of doing the live stream, we have done it from different parts of the United States. We've done the live stream from South America. We've done the live stream from the Middle East. And did we do an episode from Europe somewhere? Oh yeah, we've done it from Europe because, oh no, we didn't. I didn't do one in Dublin because it was too darn cold and I couldn't get a warm location. Did we do another broadcast somewhere along the way from Europe? I can't recall. Maybe not. But I've always been wondering, like, what it would be like to do one from Asia, because here from Baltimore, Asia is pretty much 12 hours. It's on the opposite side of the planet. So in a certain part of Asia, it's what, 9 p.m. now here. It's 9 a.m. in certain parts. And I always thought that, that would be kind of interesting to do a daytime broadcast that would actually be nighttime here. And I might get a gig to go down to Malaysia to do a competition. We're still in the middle of, we just started discussing the possibilities of that. And hopefully that works out and we'll get that opportunity to do the show from Kuala Lumpur. And then maybe we'll get to do another location depending on what we can work out. And then looks like we'll do an episode from Peru in October. Evidently, I think we've secured that finally. I'm going to be overseeing the Latte Art Championship of Peru. So sometime in late October, the plan is to fly down to Lima and hold some workshops in Lima. And they want to do the competition in a town called Puno. And if you're not familiar, Puno has this, Puno is up by the Lake Kakatiti. And this is the highest My understanding is that it's the highest lake in the world at over 12,000 feet, so 3,800 meters. And they put out a request for someone to come help them, and I was like, you know what, that sounds like a good adventure. I'll go. I'm willing to go. Hopefully that's not a mistake. Like, that's pretty high. Like, I've spent a bit of time in Denver. I spent quite a bit more time in Mexico City. Mexico City is about 7,000 feet, maybe 6,000 feet, something like that. And, at Mexico City, I can kind of feel a little bit of the altitude, right? You get a little bit winded. Many years ago, Tony and I went down to Hawaii to but we went to summit at Mauna Kea. You can drive almost to the summit, and then maybe another 200 yards, maybe 200 feet. It felt like 6 miles, but it's only probably 200 feet from the roadway to the summit, and that's 13,796 feet. And that was brutal. Like, that was like brutal. We spent the night, like, we didn't do it as you should do it, right? Like, we got there, flew into the Big Island, rented a vehicle, drove to a cabin that we had rented at the midpoint, so 6,500 feet, spent the night there. The idea was that we'll acclimatize and, take our time there overnight, and then the next morning we'll summit. So we're 6,500 feet. Next morning we get up pretty early, drive up to the summit, and when we got to the summit, we got to the parking lot by the summit. Man, I think I was so, like, I really could feel it. Like, I think I slept in the car for like maybe an hour. I don't know. Tony would know this because I was asleep, so I don't know. Slept for like an hour, and then made the climb to the summit. And like, I remember, like, it'd be walk several steps, rest, a few more steps, rest, a few more steps, rest. Finally made it to the summit. So I was able to get to the summit. That was the goal. But man, it was, wow. Like, oxygen deprivation is a real deal. And so this is pretty high. And evidently it's on the border with Bolivia, because I was looking at some photos, and a lot of the women in Peru also wear the bowler type of hat that you see in Bolivians. And so I guess there's a shared culture and shared border right there. And so the plan is to do a few days in Lima to do the workshops, and then travel to Puno. And I told them we need to work some time in Puno before we do the competition so that we get acclimatized. So we're scheduling 2 days in Puno, basically, so that I can just stay at the hotel and, like, I'm wondering, do I need to bring oxygen? And, when we did this thing in Mauna Kea, that was 1998. So that's 25 years ago. I was half my age than I am now. I'm twice as old as I was then. So it's like, man, this could be the end of me. Hopefully not. George says, do one in the Maldives. Nice tropical location similar to Hawaii. Oh, that would be so gorgeous. So gorgeous. All right, we'll work on that. A trip to the Maldives. Maybe we do a whole, like, outing. We'll get everybody to come out. We'll do a live stream with everybody there. Of course, if everybody comes, who's going to be watching? Well, that doesn't matter. We'll watch it later on the replay. All right, so George, you're right. Like, we need to be on alert. It's now 9:20, and we are almost to finishing the second third, right? Let's look at that. There's our second third marker right here. We're getting close. And luckily, we have no nosediving yet, so that's great. Tony agrees that Maldives would be nice. That would be very nice. In my psychosis of this trip, I really want to hit, like, I'm thinking, if I do it right, and do it quickly, I'd like to hit Bangkok. I'd like to hit Singapore, because Kuala Lumpur is just 40 minutes away or an hour away by plane from Singapore, 7-hour bus trip. And then it's a short, like, 2-hour flight from Singapore to Bangkok, hour flight to Ho Chi Minh City. I've got a friend. I got some of my close friends are living in Bangkok. Let's see them. Then I have a good buddy of mine who has a shop in Ho Chi Minh City. He's always been like, man, come out to visit us. I was like, I'm coming. I'm going to try to come out. And then go back to Manila, see family there. Then head to Tokyo, hang out, see some coffee places there, and then fly home. Maybe I can do that. Depends on how things work out. But that's kind of what I'm thinking in the mind. Like, oh, if I could do that, that'd be kind of dope. But a lot to work out. There's a lot to work out for that. And then the Maldives. I wonder what a nice time of the year would be to go to Maldives. Maybe in the winter. Maybe our winter would be a nice time. I think our winter would be their summer, right? Because Maldives are below the equator. Oh, darn it. I knew I should have done that. Tony says the air was thin. Yeah, man, the air was rough. It was rough. What's happening in the world? Oh, so it looks like the FBI has arrested a 21-year-old Air National Guardsman who is suspected of leaking the classified information that came from the Pentagon. Evidently, he was on a Reddit channel, I think, and sharing some of these documents on Reddit. And he was one of those guys that was like, sounded like he was very right-wing in the fact that he was like, well, the government is like doing all this and whatever those crazy people have to say about the government. Maybe not necessarily the government. He's wrong about the government, but, a little bit kind of crazy. So here in my local part of the neighborhood, evidently they're bringing a Panda Express and a Qdoba here to Cockeysville. So we'll have the chance to have orange chicken. And what I like a Qdoba is their tortilla soup. Actually, I think the tortilla soup's kind of enjoyable. And evidently, if you've heard about that guy in San Francisco, that tech CEO, the guy that started the Cash App, he was killed, and they evidently found someone. They found someone that might have been the killer, another tech entrepreneur. I don't know why I should kill him. I don't know. Evidently, he was stabbed. That's terrible. No, and evidently Joe Biden, the president, said in his remarks to the Irish Parliament, he remarked about his age and quote unquote the end of his career. So maybe he's planning on retiring after this this season or this term season. I don't know. Have any of you guys checked out that the new season of what's it called? Ted Lasso? I have not seen it yet, but I watched the first two seasons, and I thought the first season was really, really great. Second season, okay. Actually, the second season I didn't think was as good as the first season. So I don't know if I guess that's why I haven't really rushed out to watch it yet. But if you haven't seen Ted Lasso, I think you'll enjoy the first season, especially he has these cookies that he likes to give to people. And one of the Latino soccer players has a great slogan that's always very, very enjoyable. Oh, and evidently, Democrats are calling on Senator Dianne Feinstein to retire. Well, that's a turn of events. Why are they, or resign, not retire? Oh, she has complications from shingles and has not come back to DC from her home. I guess that's why they're trying to push her out. And the New York Post is saying that the Anheuser-Busch Corporation has lost more than $5 billion in value since they came out with the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light can, and people like Kid Rock got all like butthurt about that. I think probably they're worried that drinking Bud Light will make them gay. And I don't know if you guys have watched The Mandalorian yet. I haven't. Yesterday, the new episode of Mandalorian came out. I have not seen that yet. I thought I was going to watch it yesterday, but just never got around to it. The Blacklist is still continuing. The last episode was okay. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. You know me, I just enjoy watching James Spader and his company doing his thing. All right, we took the band off, so that means that it's time for our second third. All right, so we're here at the second third, finishing up the second third. I'm going to say that it's still very good, 875. And I'm going to say the body is also 875. Like, it's not quite, I mean, it's very good, but I wouldn't say excellent. And how are we really determining this? You know, it's in many respects, it's more just an instinctual thing. Like the way that I've worked on designing this form is really about, you know, you're basing a lot of the scoring based on your personal experience, and also more importantly, how you would describe the aspect. Like that's why we're looking at average, good, very good, excellent, extraordinary, because when you talk about the flavor, how would you describe that flavor? Would you say it's very good? Would you say it's excellent? That's really kind of like what guides us into our point system. I think last week we ended a little bit early, didn't we? Because the Robusto from Brazil kind of smoked pretty fast. We're at 9:30 now. Can this be 30 minutes? We're going to try. We're going to see what we can do. I've been working on a video this week that I'm trying to finish. I'm really trying to see if I can finish it by tomorrow, because I'd like to have it out for Saturday's release. Or not, actually not this Saturday. Since I'm leaving Sunday, I won't have a chance to work on it next week. So I'm trying to get it out so that it will drop next Saturday. Like the 21st. And it's just taking a little bit longer. But this video is really, I think it's going to be a really interesting one. You know, when it comes to coffee shops, I tend to be pretty critical. Like I'm really looking for really great coffee shops. And what I mean by a great coffee shop is that, Tony says third season is back to form. I presume you mean Ted Lasso, so it's back to form. Okay, that's great. And that's according to his customer who watches it. All right, excellent. I hope so, man. Yeah, the second season kind of missed a step, I feel. Like I don't feel as enthusiastic. You know, I don't remember what happened the second season, but, you know, reflecting on it now, it just wasn't as powerful as the first. So I'm hoping the third will be as good. Like I was saying, so when I go to coffee shops, I'm really looking for a place that not just makes great coffee. Like great coffee is, I think great coffee in a coffee shop is the bare minimum expectation, which is why I don't go to a lot of coffee shops, because, you know, being in the business now for over 20 years, like you kind of can look at a shop, see how they make their drinks, see how they interact, and you kind of can tell where in the spectrum that particular shop falls. You know, and there's a lot of good shops. Like I was talking with this to Brian yesterday. It's like, you know, in the 20 years that I've been in the business, now you can go to many shops in many cities around the country and find good espresso, good coffee, solid coffee. Whereas when I got into the business originally, it was really few and far between. like you would, like here in Baltimore, like there was nothing until we opened Spro. There was nothing of good quality coffee. Now, 20 years later, Spro's retail location no longer exists, but you could still get great coffee all across the city. So really, there's been a seismic change in coffee in America. So when I go to places, I'm always looking for like, what place will give you a unique experience? And I guess the best way to correlate this, like what Rusty would understand, like, when he worked at Patrick O'Connell's place, we're really looking for places that really go to that next level, really take it beyond the average. And so when I was in Hawaii back in November, and I was, visiting the Ka'u and Kona coffee districts, I happened to be in Kona at just the right time. Serendipitously, I was there during the annual Kona Coffee Festival. And one of the events that I happened to stumble across was a brewing demonstration. I come to this one shop, a place called Kona Coffee and Tea, and learn how to brew from coffee professionals. And so a bunch of baristas from around the island came, and they were giving demonstrations on different brewing methods. And one of the ones that I went to was this with the Avid Clever, this Clever brew. We've used it here on the live stream in the past. There are two guys. One guy was from Oahu, and he's a competitor in the national championships. Good guy, but then the other guy was like super meticulous. Like the way that he brewed the coffee, the way that he talked about the coffee and how to brew, had a whole nother level of depth and complexity that is, to me, unusual. And I was like, you know what? I found out where his shop was. It was on the Big Island, on the other side of the island, far away, and kind of in the middle of nowhere. Like when you're in Hilo, like Hilo is the big small town that's on one side of the island, the other side is Kona. And so you can go from Hilo and you drive like an hour or so to the volcano, where they have the Volcano National Park and the lava flows. Kind of somewhere between that is a place called Mountain View. And it really is a tiny, tiny hamlet. Not even a town, it's a hamlet. Kind of in the middle of nowhere, very rural area. And this guy opens his shop there. So I was staying in Hilo before I went home, back to Honolulu. So I drove out there one morning, went to visit his shop. I gotta say, I was not disappointed. Like, after spending an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours there, I would say that his shop is one of the best in the United States. And and because of that, it's also one of the best in the world. Like, this is the kind of level, like, when we talk, I don't know if you know, but like Michelin, in the Michelin system, they give, notable, like they're noteworthy, so they'll list them in the book with no stars. And then they have their star ratings, 1, 2, and 3 stars. And I think one of the criteria, when they say the 3 stars, when they talk about 3 stars, one of the things they note with a 3-star rating is that this is a place, this is a restaurant that is worth a trip to go to. Right? The other 2 are 1 and 2 stars are worthy, but 3 is like, it's worth planning a trip specifically to visit that restaurant. And I think that this place fits that criteria. Like, if you wanted to experience some coffee that's really at a different level, this is the place. This is one of the 3 places, or maybe just 1 or 2 places in America that I think are worth visiting. And, it was a surprise. I wasn't planning on making a video about this shop, and I ended up going there and I shot all this footage. And so I'm trying to put that together now. And it's quite an interesting place. So hopefully if I can get that done, it'll come out in 2 Saturdays. Uh-oh. This cigar has gone out. And the flavor in that fireless puff was a little bit acrid. Time for a relight. Let's have a look at it, though. So here's the cigar. It has gone out. Relatively straight burn line. Still very nice white ash. So I guess that means a good amount of magnesium. Let's get back to lighting or relighting. As always, I'm going to use the Cirillo method of lighting around the rim. without tapping out the ash. I always find that when I tap out the ash, the burnt cherry comes out, and then it's got this cave kind of thing on the inside, and then when you relight it, burnt ash and everything starts getting everywhere. But if I light it like this, it typically stays very neat. Let's try. So this guy in Hawaii, Brian, his name is Brian. He owns a shop called Ko'ana. And he actually works with an old friend of mine in the industry, and this guy named Miguel Meza. And Miguel's kind of crazy. And Brian's crazy. These are people that I would describe in the coffee business as being psychotics. Like, they have a level of psychosis about coffee that is, like, I think I have a level of psychosis that's pretty high. These guys are higher. Like, they're like fanatics. And like, for example, Miguel, he truly is an expert in coffee production. Oh, I dropped some of the ash. Where am I going to put this? Oh, I hate making a mess. Now, most people, like myself, will work with farmers, producers in different parts of the world, and we will, work with them, talk with them, and say, hey, let's try this year for this, and try this process. But that's kind of the limit. Like, when I work with a farmer to do special coffees, like, we'll talk about what we would like, and I pretty much leave the process up to that individual producer, because that's their level of expertise. Now, Miguel, he's worked with farmers on the farms doing the processing. So he really has a thorough understanding of coffee production. And what he does now he's got a shop, a coffee roastery called Paradise Roasters that his family started in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They sold it off for a number of years. And then a few years ago, Miguel bought the company back from the other owners and still has main production happening in Minneapolis, but opened a location in Hilo where he does some of the roasting as well as all of the sourcing for the company. But he takes it further. And actually, I shot a bit of footage at his shop, but I think that I had a corruption of some of the files, and I think those are some of the files that were lost. So I don't have anything. It's all gone. But what he does is that he goes to the farms that he knows, and they're cultivating the coffee and they're cultivating the cherry, and he goes to them during the harvest season and works with them to harvest the coffee that there's a certain level of ripeness that he wants. So he gets the ripe coffees, the ripe cherries, brings them back to Hilo, drives them back to the town, to his shop, where he has a full processing center built, where he processed the coffee in-house. And I saw this, I was like, dude, this is completely next level coffee. It's so far ahead of what everyone else in the industry is doing. It's just insanity. It's craziness. But he does whatever processing method that he has in his mind, he can work on it himself. And so Brian works with him and gets some crazy, crazy coffee lots that are just immense. And so I had a couple of those, and very solid. If you're interested in trying it, it's at Paradise Roasters. I think it's paradiseroasters.com. And you can go there, and they've got things like Champagne Naturals and all these different processes. And look for the stuff that's from Hawaii, because that's the one that Miguel actually puts his hands on. And if you really want to try coffee that's truly at another level, that's the place to go. He's actually coming to Portland, so I'll get to hang out finally again while we're there. Rusty, he's got this. I think he should have done the scheduling already, but he's supposed to have scheduled a karaoke outing for us on Friday night, so that should be good. So the relight, not bad, not bad. Like it has not taken a dive. I would say that the complexity has been diminished a bit. I think in the flavor category, we've lost a slight step with this. If I was to score this right now, I would say that instead of being 8.75 like it's been for the first two, I'd say 8.5. Rusty says, when do you fly home? I think I come back on Tuesday. I like to stay a couple extra days just to kind of chill, like maybe I can chill and do like nothing and hide out at the hotel maybe. I don't know. Maybe, I don't really know. I have to really look at I really have to look at the itinerary. I was thinking about going to Seattle at one point, like renting a car after the show and then driving up to Seattle. It's about 4 hours or so. But I nixed that early on. I just didn't want to be away that long. I presume you're flying back on Sunday night? One of my judges from the Middle East called me yesterday, and he's like, hey, are you going to be in Portland? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be in Portland. You coming out? He's like, yeah, I'm going to come out. He's got to buy his ticket still. I'm like, dude, you need to buy your ticket like right away. I guess he has a budget to work for with his company, but so he's a good guy. He's a guy I've worked with for off and on for about 6, 7 years now. I first met him when we were in Istanbul back in 2017, and he was pretty new to judging then. He's been a great technical judge, super enthusiastic, super eager to learn. So I hope he'll be able to make it so we could hang out with him a bit. I got to treat him to dinner because he's treated me many, many times. So, and Tony says, Comac is closing up, so I'll say goodnight. All right there, Tony. Good to have you. Gosh, early at Comac tonight, 9:45. Gosh, I'm surprised. Thought you guys were going to 11. A lot of the boys are over at our friend's warehouse. He's got this big 80,000 square foot warehouse where we kind of once every blue moon will have a cigar at his front area. Nice time over there. Nice time. We're still rolling, though. We're still rolling there, George. Look at that. How'd that Olmec turn out for you, by the way? Overall, I will say that, this cigar now is 2.5 years older than when I bought it. I don't know how old it was. I mean, it was relatively new when I got it in September 2020 or August of 2020. And this has been really good. The last third, a little bit diminished than the first 2/3, but overall, quite good. There's a little bit of what I would call, right now, since I did the relight, the only way that I describe it is a softness. There's a softness to it. Kind of like a light dullness to the flavor since we relit. That's why I'm really thinking, that's why I would say that the flavor has been diminished. Steven, if you're still with us, what did you smoke tonight? Or are you smoking tonight? Ooh, it's getting close, man. We might not last till 10 o'clock. I feel like the time is ticking by slowly now. How's our coffee doing? The coffee's been pretty good. A little bit on the brighter side, a little bit of chocolate, more like if you took a cacao nib and you made it into like a tea. That's kind of like the chocolatiness of this one. It's not a very forward or heavy chocolate, and it does have a bit of brightness to it. But cold overall, very nice to strain. There's always something about towards the end of the cigar, the last third, especially halfway through the last third, where I feel like the smoke stagnates more. Now, I don't know if it's because, like, the burning part is much closer to the mouth or the nose than the rest of it, than earlier in the cigar. This is the point where I always tend to be a little bit more choking from it. Like it's a little bit harder to draw. Not that the draw itself is hard, it's tighter. It's just the mechanics of the puff becomes a little more difficult. I don't know if you guys have that. Let me know if you have that or not. I'm curious. Starting to feel a little bit of the heat on my fingertips. But maybe if we can squeeze out an hour and 20 minutes on this thing. Obviously, an hour, 20 minutes, I am not of World Cigar Smoking Championship caliber. I still can't believe the champion in 2019 got 4 hours, 46 minutes out of this cigar. Like, that is really an achievement. Actually, that's the thing for me is like if you're a judge for that, like you've got to wait a long time. Like that's a long competition, 4 hours, 46 minutes, 5 hours, I'm presuming that the last couple of years has been 5 hours because it just makes sense that they'd be able to stretch out longer. Yeah, see, every time I puff now, because it's so close to the face, I kind of have to duck away from it so I don't get choked up by it. Let me drop that ash. There we go, look at that. Smoking down to the nub right there. No, right down to the nub. Okay, back again. Sorry about that. Steven says that the Agarosa Leaf Habanero kind of a spoiler for the future show, but came in the middle. Oh, you're supposed to wait. That's all right. That's all right. I get it. I get it. Yeah, there we go. We're back again. Don't worry, Rusty. We're back again. I had a little problem here, so I tried to restart the browser to rectify that, but it wasn't connecting. So I think sometimes it gets a little bit of an issue with the Wi-Fi. So I dropped it onto the hotspot with the phone, and that's what we're running off now. And the nub was so small that I didn't really have a place to put it down. So I dropped it inside the ashtray. Maybe I can do a little more puff out of it. Oh yeah. That little bit of break kind of cooled it down. So, okay, a little bit of a spoiler. Yeah. So how was that Aganorsa Leaf? What'd you think? Tell us what you think. I'm interested to know. Did you try the Drew Estate? So if you guys, for you guys who are watching, when we had the Drew Estate drawing, Brian won, of course, and Brian tends to send his stuff to his brother Steven. So Brian told me yesterday he sent out the stuff to Steven. So we were able to try the other cigars. And what'd you think of those? All right, that's enough. Oh. Let's go to our scoring of this one. So it did not recover. Like I said, the flavor was diminished, but the body was still the same. So I'm going to say 8.75. Burn and draw. I got to say the burn and draw overall, had we not had our outage, I would have said 8. No, I would have said 9. But let's put 8.75. The draw very good. Burn very good. Consistency 8.75. Overall, we're going to say 8.75 as well. So let's get into some of our here. So we've got 8.5 plus 17.5 plus 17.5. Now 8, 5, 16, 8.75, 8.75 plus 8.75, we're going to say 87. So 87, let's go to our I lost the drive part. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me have to pull this back. Give me just 1 second. All right, there we go. Whoops. Come on now. What is this all about? We should still have that, right? Oh gosh, this thing. Sorry, I'm having difficulty with the windows get all layered in this way that we're doing it today. So it's a little bit harder to get everything up and run. Okay, that should give us what we're looking for. There we go. All right, so we're doing 87 here. Ooh. Number 3 for the year, 87, the Vintage 2020 Rocky Patel. Actually, should be WCSC, World Cigar Smoking Championship Mareva. Oh, so pretty good this time. Pretty good. There it is, number 3 for the season so far. So that's a good turnout, I think. All right, so I guess that's going to do it for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. We're next week when we come back on the 20th. I'm going to be in Portland, Oregon, doing the stream from there. So look forward to that. Like I said before on last week's episode, I'm looking to go to a place called Greater Trumps, which is McMenamin's cigar bar next to the Baghdad Theater, or part of the Baghdad Theater in southeast Portland. So if you happen to be in Portland, come down to McMenamin's or to come down to the Baghdad Theater by 5 p.m. Portland time, and we'll be live here again next week. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this week. Thank you for tuning in. We'll get to Steven's Aganorsa Leaf Habano in the coming week, probably 2 or 3 weeks from now. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next time.